Well, after my debacle with the internal frame pack, I kind of decided I might be an external frame type of guy, and I had mentioned the Dana Designs earlier. One of their hallmarks was that even though they were heavy packs, the suspension was really good, and people could haul them for a long time, and that's why they were so popular on the Appalachian Trail in the early 90s. Of course, back then, there were not near as many, probably less than half as many people that attempt the Appalachian Trails do now. And by the time they got up to the area where I live in central southwest Virginia, they had thinned the ranks pretty good. But you saw a lot of Dana Designs. People would have North Face. And by that time I noticed that the internal frames were outnumbering the external frames, even on the Appalachian Trail. So what we have here, this is still an external frame pack, which I like because one thing I noticed, and one of the downfalls of the early internal frame packs, was it didn't have much flow back here. My back gets extremely sweaty, and I did not like that. So this is a K2 pack. Now K2 had an arrangement with Dana Designs, and they used the suspension from the Terraplane or the Glacier pack that Dana Designs had at the time, but they attached it to an external frame. And this is what they call the short bed. They also had a long bed, which just meant the pack was the full length of this. This has still got the shelf there where you could put the sleeping bag or bedroll or whatever you wanted to have there, a tent. Now I must say, even though this is a heavy pack, this one's 7+ pounds, this has the Wonder Bands, or they have a name for these purple bands here. They were supposed to distribute the weight better. The suspension was very comfortable. I used this one on the section from the Priest. I was going south from the Ty River back down to Route 60 near Buena Vista, and I used this for I think it was 2 nights I was out. And up to that time, this was by far the most comfortable pack I'd ever used, and so I figured this is the pack I'll have for the rest of my life, which I still have it, and I'd still use it. And if I had to haul a really heavy load, then this is the pack I would use. You can remove the pack from the frame and use it to haul, a half an elk or something along those lines. But this, again, it's got the heavy Cordura type fabric like was on the Himalayan and some of the REI bag, and that's what adds to the weight. Okay, so like I said before, the K2 pack was the most comfortable pack I'd ever used, and everything was well and good until I started reading Ray Jardine. Now this is not the first book I have of his. He had another book called The Pacific Crest Trail Hiker's Guide. Like I said, he had talked about using lighter weight gear. He went to an extreme amount at the time of preparation. He designed his own packs, sewed his own packs. He and his wife had a little bit of talent with sewing. They had their own tarps that they sewed. They had a quilt. It was the first time I'd heard the term quilt as opposed to sleeping bag for anything sleeping outside. And I believe his pack, when he hiked, by the time he got to the Appalachian Trail, he hiked the Pacific Crest Trail a couple of times, and then he hiked the Appalachian Trail. He came through this, and I missed him by a day or two when he came through my area. I think his base weight was 13 pounds, which was unheard of at the time. That's just his gear with that minus the consumables, the food and water, and things like toothpaste and that. But I started reading this, and he was talking about hiking in tennis shoes and that type of thing. Another issue that I'd always had was it was hard to find good boots that I could wear without rubbing blisters on my feet. That was an ongoing battle I had. So the lightweight gear, the philosophy kind of appealed to me. Well, I did not have talent at sewing, as you saw with my earlier pockets I put on my bags. So I just bought this oversized Jansport. Now this is the one I showed you earlier. It's bigger than the typical book bag, but I was trying to get gear that would fit in here. This one doesn't have a frame at all, It just has a padded section that goes next to your back. It does have a hip belt. And I went on probably the most extended backpacking trip I went on from Damascus, Virginia to Atkins, Virginia. That was in 98. And this is the pack I used, and I had bedroll strapped on the bottom, and I had food enough for 2 weeks out there, so that kind of negated the whole lightweight thing. I'm not a big believer in resupply, but that was a big problem. When I was hiking up from Damascus, I could really tell it was almost as painful as what I'd used with the Alice pack earlier, back in my military days. As I was consuming the food, it went down, it got a little better, and I did manage to get a big blister on my foot at one point, and so that cut my trip short. I was planning on going all the way up to Catawba, Virginia, but I stopped at Damascus and pulled out there. But this was my first attempt at the lightweight backpacking. You know, one thing about Jansport in the 70s and early 80s, they were an innovative company. And one thing they did, like I mentioned, they were big into the external frame market. And what they were looking at was the reason people liked internal frames. And one of the reasons was there was a lot of, not so much people hiking on trails, the big trails like the Appalachian or whatever, but people going cross country, what they call bushwhacking, or people skiing that were doing the cross country skiing. They would prefer the internal frame packs. So what they tried to do was come up with a combination. They took the simplicity of the bag of the internal frame packs, but they had a very narrow frame on it. You can just barely see the frame on this one. It's only about 9 inches wide through here, all the way down. It is a regular solid frame, and this is a pack that I became aware of because Colin Fletcher, again, he mentioned that Jansport was experimenting with these packs, and they had a few prototypes out. Well, once upon a time at a flea market, I ran upon this, and it is a Jansport. It has no name on it to identify the model, and I went to a Jansport dealer, and he couldn't figure out what model it was. So this may have been one of the prototypes that they just let people use to evaluate. But I found this at flea market for $10, and I did use this one time. When we were in Colorado, we were planning on spending the night out one time, but the area where we went to turned out to be not national forest like we thought it was, so we ended up just turning around and coming back the same day. But I had a full load in this, and it was reasonably comfortable and not as vented at the back as I prefer, but if you were bushwhacking, going through the brush, this has very little to catch on things. It kind of conforms to the silhouette of your back there, so it doesn't have a lot of stuff sticking out to catch on to, and it's a very functional pack. Now again, Colin Fletcher influenced this purchase because I found this at a yard sale, and at the time I certainly didn't need a backpack, but I recognized this pack from his description. This is one that he thought was an innovative design, like we talked about with the Jansport. It had a little bit of flex in the frame so that it would move with you as you were walking down the trail, and then give you that rigid, solid ladder type frame feel. This is a very large pack, and it is the North Face brand. It has the heavier fabric. Some of it's heavier than others. Right here, just panel, it is the Cordura material. This is more of a traditional nylon. But the innovative thing with this, it's got the hip belt. It's got reasonably padded straps. But right here where the hip belt connects to, this is polyethylene. As you can see, it's got a little wiggle room here. It's got a brace around the back of the belt, and then it attaches right here, which will move up and down a little bit and back and forth. And that's enough so that your hips are not locked into an abnormal swivel motion when you're hiking up a trail. Colin Fletcher thought this was a good idea, even though this was not a main pack that he used a lot, but he thought it was innovative. And I found this at a yard sale, and they said they'd take $5 for it, so I had to have it just to try it out. And it's a decent pack. It's got a Velcro adjustment here, so you can conform it exactly to where you want it. It's a little bit different from a lot of packs today, and of course sometimes Velcro will wear out, but but that's what they used, and it still works to this day. Alright, now I just showed you the North Face pack that had the polyethylene swivel point there at the hips, and this takes it a step farther. This is Coleman, a company that most people are familiar with, even if they're not into backpacking. And this is probably the pack that I should have paid more attention to back in the 80s and early 90s when I was looking for a pack for myself. And I was reading Backpacker magazine and stuff like that, and they didn't give a lot of coverage to this pack. But people that have used it have really had high recommendations for it. It is an external frame pack, but instead of having one part as polyethylene, the whole frame is polyethylene. Now this is what they call the Ramex material, which is similar to the material that Coleman used on their red canoes that everybody's familiar with. This whole frame will flex. It flexes good, but some of the early models, they did have problems with breaking if people were rough with them, but they improved the design or maybe the chemistry of the polyethylene. And since then, this has been a very popular type of pack. This is another flea market find. I think I paid $10 for this one. This is not the original belt. The belt did kind of give out. It got kind of squishy and really didn't give any support. So I took an old military belt off of a Molly type pack and put on here. It's got very good ventilation. My biggest complaint with this one is, even though the frame is flexible, this frame is particularly tall, and it's got a lot of room up here to lash on a bedroll or a tent or whatever you want to put on it. But if you're going even down a maintained trail, it's easy to catch on a branch or things like that, or going through briars or things, and this frame is just too long. Now I understand that they did have a shorter frame that you could get that had different pack arrangement, and another thing with these packs, they had a bunch of different pack configurations you could have. This one is designed more like a hunting pack. I don't really care for this pack. The way the panel is here, if you it's got the inside divider that's not separable, and it's kind of hard to get into here and pull your items out unless you empty this completely. So I kind of was hoping that I would be able to find a different pack that would fit this frame, or find the shorter frame for this style of pack. Okay, now this is a follow-up to the Coleman packet I had showed you earlier. This is Outdoor Products, and from what I have read, what I understand, they bought the rights to that type of pack with the polyethylene frame. As you can see, it has it. This is a shorter frame, and I was hoping I would either be able to use this or just take the pack off of this one. It's a more agreeable pack to me, and put on that frame. But Outdoor Products kind of geared these towards Boy Scouts. Originally, from what I understand, if you read the forums, they had two different lengths that you could use. And when I bought this, the guy didn't know what it was, but this is a shorter torso that I wasn't able to use. I mean, I can get it on, but it wouldn't be comfortable to try to use. But it is basically the same type. I don't think that the frame is as rigid and durable as the Coleman. It is a little bit lighter. The belt is not as good even as the original belt that was on the Coleman. But it would be a good pack for a starter out for Boy Scouts when they're still growing. It's got a room to grow up to about 5'9" or 5'10", depending on what their torso length is. This pack does have four zippered pockets and a pretty good flap over the top. It's got room to strap a bedroll or sleeping bag on the bottom. All in all, it's a good pack. It's still got the tags on it. I mean, I just got it, and it wasn't what I thought it was, and I still have it to this day. Okay, there for a while, I'd stopped backpacking. I had trouble sleeping at night, especially on the trail. It didn't matter if I was using a Thermarest mattress or whatever other type of mattress I was trying to use. But in 2016, something wonderful happened. I started watching Shug Emery on YouTube, and between him and Dixie, Homemade Wanderlust, I got interested in backpacking again. I figured if I could get a hammock that was comfortable, then I'd be able to sleep out. We live on the East Coast, and there's always trees you can hang a hammock from. And while I was at it, I was looking at the models of packs that were being developed that were kind of compromises between the old school frame packs or even the Gregory type pack I had before. And we were in Damascus one year, and this is the Granite Gear Crown 60. They had just brought this out, and it was hard to get, but they were had representatives down at Damascus Trail Days. And I tried on one of these, and they said, oh yeah, the long will be perfect for you. This is not an adjustable torso one. And I thought I'd give this one a whirl. It was like the latest and greatest thing. I finally found one. I tried it on a week-long hike from Front Royal back down to the Tye River going southbound on the Appalachian Trail. And again, I was disappointed. There's a lot of good to like about this pack. It is a light, it's like 2.5 pounds or something in that range. I don't really have a scale. It's got a great adjustability on this belt. I'll give it that. You can adjust it from like 28 inches to 44 inches, and it's got a big, thick Velcro attachment that works fine. What I was disappointed with was the recommended weight. I had maybe 26 pounds in this pack. It did not feel good on my back. This panel in here is just too flexible. No matter how I cinched it up or anything, I didn't feel like I was getting the support that I should have, and it felt like I just had a pack without any support in it at all. I was also hoping that this back panel would have more ventilation, but it just felt like I was wearing a flat pack directly onto my back. And it was a humid October that year when I was hiking, but I was disappointed with this. Now, on the flip side, Granite Gear does make one that's almost exactly like this, but it's not a lightweight pack, or not as light as this one. Weighs 6 or 8 ounces more. There was a girl named Amanda Best that came through in 2018 or 2019, and she had one that's called the Blaze. And she had great luck with hers, and I looked at it, and it was substantially more stiff through here and had better padding. And I think that if I had bought that one instead, then I would have been more pleased with it, even though it was a little heavier. Now this one has a removable lid on it, what some people call the brain. It's got the mesh pocket in the back where you can store damp material. That's the first pack I've had with that. Really stretchy side pockets for your water bottle. Now the only complaint about this is it might not be as durable as some of the pockets on the other packs like I've had. It's got some small compartments on the zipper pockets on the hip belt, and the brain is removable. It's got the daisy chains up here if you want to put something on the straps. You can have a little cell phone pack, or some people put their water bottles up there, something along that. But all in all, if you're carrying, for me, I'd say if you're carrying over 20 or 22 pounds, with your food and everything, I really couldn't recommend this pack. Okay, right about the time that I bought the Granite Gear pack, I happened to win another pack. It's about the same size and about the same weight. It's a little different than what I had looked for in the Granite Gear. This is a Sierra Designs pack. This is the one that Andrew Skirka helped design. Andrew Skirka he's a monster out on the trail. He hiked through Alaska one summer and rode the rapids. Carried a pack raft with him. He did the Great Northwestern Loop Trail one year, and he's become a consultant for Sierra Designs, and he kind of helped design this pack. Now this one has a little bit bigger hip belt pockets, and it is called the Flex Capacitor because you can open up this gusseted area here. Okay, it's locked in now, but this section, you can open it up all the way down, and it increases the capacity, 60 liters to 40 liters. If you're going through the brush and you want a narrower pack, you can gusset it in, and go through the brush without having the wider pack that might catch more. It's got these very big and a little bit more substantial flexible pockets than the Granite Gear. One great thing about this pack, it's got excellent ventilation. It's got one little internal frame here that does look like the flux capacitor on the Back to the Future series. It looks like that little thing that gave the power to the DeLorean car. The padding hits you right here on each shoulder blade and at the sacral area. And all this through here is very well ventilated. It's as well ventilated as just about any external frame pack that I've used. Now, I did carry this when I went from Atkins to Catawba one year. I had a lot of weight in it. I had enough food in here for almost 2 weeks. I carried it all. One thing I did not like, even though Andrew Skirka, he loved it, it's got a zipper top on it, and the zipper opens in the front. It's one great area in here for all your items. I just never warmed up to this thing. It's got a little bit of a pocket up here, but it's really not usable. If you've got this pack fully packed, it will compress this lid, and then you can't open this up enough to put anything in it more than maybe a map or something like that. So I would much prefer this if it had a traditional flap or a roll-up lid. It's got a lot of good qualities. It doesn't weigh any more than that Granite Gear, and I believe this thing could carry 50 pounds. It was a lot more stable with a heavier weight. If I was carrying less than 20 pounds, you might be all right with the Granite Gear. If you're carrying 30 pounds or up, I would say that the flex capacitor would do a lot better job just because of the stability of the suspension. Alright, so after I tried again with the internal frame packs, I went back to external frame. This is the last pack that I bought. This is a Seek Outside. This is a cottage industry pack. They're made in Colorado, I believe. These people make tents. They make equipment more designed for hunting while backpacking. They have a hot tents, which you can actually put a stove in. These packs are not made of cordura or the light nylon. This is what they call pack cloth, and it's a very, very durable type of material. This particular pack has a heavy mesh in the back instead of the stretchy like was on the Granite Gear. It's got very large, oversized side pockets that you could put I hesitate to call it water bottle pocket because you can put so much more in there. Some people actually roll up their tent and stick it in the side and then strap it onto the side. This one is a relatively lightweight for this size external frame pack. As you can see, it's got the very narrow tubing that goes around the outside. Comes up here. It's just this wide here. It's this wide down here. Fairly comfortable belt. It's got this area in the back that keeps your back separated from the items inside so you don't poke yourself with anything. They make a pack on this you can take off, and if you're out hunting you can put like a quarter of an elk on and still be able to put the bag over top and protect that quarter of the elk. This is the Divide series, and they have several different configurations. They got different weight of cloth, but this one here, it weighs probably a little bit north of 3.5 pounds just with the frame and the pack, and they can carry 60 or 70 pounds. Some people have carried more than that. I hate to think about carrying more than that myself. If I did have to go that route, I'd probably go back to the K2 just because it's got such a comfortable suspension on it. This is the pack I normally carry when I'm out with Dreamer. Sometimes I carry a little extra equipment because she's carrying her camera gear, and I can carry what I need in this and still be fairly comfortable with it. The one time I was a little disappointed when I did the northern first section of the Allegheny Trail. I don't know, it's the combination of shorts I had that day or for that trip. But for some reason the belt didn't want to stay on my hips. I had never had any trouble up until that point. And so for right now, currently, this is the pack I use, and this is my go-to pack. Okay, so now I've gone through all the packs that I own, packs that I've tried at different points in my life, different decades of my life. But there is one pack that I took out one time. It does not belong to me. It is the pack that Dreamer uses. It is an Osprey. Now if this were a man's pack, it would be the Atmos. I believe they call this an Ariel or something along those lines. And this is, they call it an internal frame pack, but I kind of will challenge that. There's a very thin rod right through here that goes around the circumference here that the suspension is attached to. So it's almost like a hybrid between an internal and external frame. Now the thing about this, it has the famous Osprey anti-gravity type suspension, and this is what really sets this pack apart. I believe Duder, the German company, was the one that really pioneered what they call the trampoline type suspension, but Osprey has perfected it with this pack. Now it's, you know, according to today's standards, with people going more towards lightweight items, this pack weighs about 4 pounds according to the specs. That's not terrible. It's a lot better than back when I first started backpacking. The thing about this pack, it's a 50-liter pack, and it is the most comfortable pack I've ever worn. Now, I will say that I only had about 26 pounds in the pack the day I took it out. That was total with food and the water. I was just planning on being out for one night. This pack just about hugs your body. You can almost put just the belt on without even snapping it. It will stay on your hips. It fit my narrow hips very well. It does have quite a bit of adjustment for the torso on this one. It's not the easiest thing to do, but usually once you set it one time, you don't have to fiddle with it after that. It's got a very good belt as far as tightening up and cinching it up. The straps are very comfortable, and like I said, it is the most comfortable pack I've had. The ventilation is second to none. It's better actually than my Seek Outside pack. The Seek Outside has a solid piece of fabric right here that gets drenched when I'm out backpacking. When I did use this on an August day, my shirt was relatively dry. It's just around where the belt itself was, around the pants and the bottom of the shirt, and all through here, you could really tell that that you was getting good ventilation through there, and that extends out partially onto the shoulder straps as well. Now, a lot of people, they will turn their nose up at the Osprey. They are probably the biggest supplier of backpacks these days. They're sold in REI, which reaches a lot of people. Just about every little backpacking outfitter you go to in a small town will have Osprey packs. This one does have a removable brain. It's got a large midsection. It's got the stretchy area back here to stow damp objects, things you need to get to quickly. It's a good place to put a poncho, a rain jacket. It does have the panel on the bottom where you can just stow your sleeping bag down here, or the divider in here is adjustable, so you can just have one big pack, or you can keep it divided like it is here. Overall, this is a great pack. I think they came out, I don't know, 2012, 2014, something like that, with the anti-gravity design. And one good thing about the Osprey, they have what they call the almighty guarantee. If the pack ever breaks, or if you haven't been abusing it and it breaks because of just the durability, they will fix it or repair it or replace it. And you know, it's not the cheapest pack out there, but it's far cheaper than some of the cottage gear stuff you can buy. Like the Seek Outside is by far the most expensive pack that I've bought, and you can still get these a lot of times on sale, and they've got a lot of flexibility in the torso length. They do have the capability to use the bladder inside with a little tube coming out that some people like to use to drink out of. Doesn't really have any pockets or anything on it. You could add some pockets if you needed to. It's got some capability to put some stuff in the adequate here for a cell phone or something like that, and the hip belt pockets that come with it. Dreama, she tends to carry, she's got this little aqua clip that she uses around the neck of a 1 liter bottle, and she'll put it up here, and to keep the clip from bouncing, she just added this little bungee cord to wrap around the bottle, and that keeps everything stable. And then on the other side, it's got another loop. She tends to hang her camera from that with her capture device. So, I mean, I can't go wrong recommending first-timers to use a pack like this. It's as far as comfort, which is when you're out there walking 8 or 10 hours a day, comfort becomes something you crave. And this is, like I said, the most comfortable pack I've ever used. Now they say this is only comfortable. The suspension will hold up to 30 pounds. They have a larger version of this that will hold maybe up to 40 pounds. Like I said, this is the most comfortable pack that I've ever worn personally. So there you have it. Those are all the packs that I've used, own, and have access to. I have never used the Kelty pack, like I mentioned earlier. They have Super Tioga, or a Tioga that you can still buy, I think, as a frame pack. There are other packs out there that are minimalist packs. Z-Packs has one that's a Dyneema. Some people call it Cuban fiber pack. The material itself is very lightweight, and they actually have a little frame on theirs that you can put stress to. It puts a little ventilation gap between the pack and your back. That's fairly common, but it is a very pricey pack. Hyperlight Mountain Gear, they make Dyneema packs. I've seen them. I really don't see what the suspension is. To me, it looks like you'd just be carrying a trash bag on your back, but people like them, so I'm not going to alter their opinion. Waymark is a pack it's got a little bit of a frame, very lightweight pack. You've got ULA. That's a pack that's like a semi-cottage industry that they make very durable packs of different weights. For, some packs will probably carry close to 50 pounds, and then they got very lightweight packs. The variety it just keeps coming year after year. There's new things out there. When I was doing backpacking in the 90s, it seemed like things didn't alter very much from day to day. But with the interest in backpacking and the increased number of people that are out on the trail, you've had the influences of like the Bill Bryson book, A Walk in the Woods, and the following movie that came along, and then there's a Cheryl Strayed book about the Pacific Crest Trail. It was called Wild, I believe, and then they made a movie out of that, and that just flooded the trails with another wave of hikers coming in. And if people are out there willing to spend money, then the manufacturers are going to come. Like I said, if you're interested in packs, try one on before you buy it. Ordering packs, you can buy them cheaper like that sometimes, but you're taking a gamble about whether you like it. At least make sure your company you're ordering from has a return policy. That's one good thing about REI. You can return their gear up to a year. I think they still honor that, so that would be one method. Of course, REI does not carry everything, and a lot of the cottage industry packs you can only get by ordering them, unless you happen to come across somebody that's using one and they just let you try it on. But it's an infinite variety out there, and I just feel good about showing my subjective opinion of what's going on and all the influences I've had, both from writers and from my own backpacking experience. But we'll see you on the next trail, and maybe it'll be a different subject.